Hello, sunshines, and welcome to episode 15, the last in this season of Directions from Your Spiritual Tour Guide podcast. My name is Shanel Scott. I am your spiritual tour guide and your host for this podcast. Today, we are going to talk about 5 myths about energy healing. So to give you a little background, I have been an energy healer for a very long time. I am trained in Usui Reiki. I am a master teacher. I also have training for work with crystals, pendulums, essential oils, a gamut of energy work, as well as I am a medical intuitive as well. So I have a lot of experience and work within the realm of energy work, and there's some things that I see come up over and over again that I feel like it's important to discuss. So I'm going to jump right in and talk about the 5 misconceptions or myths about energy work. So the first is all healers are not created equal. And when I say that, I'm not saying some are better than others, although I'm sure that is the case to a certain extent. But more importantly, are you seeing someone for energy work that you feel connected to and that you trust with the energy of your body? This is really important. If you are going to see someone and you are uncomfortable, it's not going to work as well as if you are going to see someone who you come in and you just melt onto their table. You should really take the time to do your research and make sure that you are going to see someone that feels good for you and that is certified in things that you feel comfortable with. And I shouldn't even say certified, because there are definitely energy workers out there who are not certified in any type of energy work. It is kind of channeled and learned through spirit. And I feel like that is just as valid and can be just as powerful as somebody who has had a ton of training. I am somebody that feels like there is a lack of integrity out there in the world of Reiki. And it's one reason why I stopped teaching it for a very long time and really stepped back from the community, because I was seeing practices that I was very uncomfortable with. Just a big lack of integrity in the way that the practice was being shared and taught. I feel like there's often this kind of God complex that you see, or this piece of, well, I'm just not going to tell parts because that makes me better than, or, you know, it's about the money. It's about just getting students in and not actually caring about, you know, what they're learning and the quality of that experience, and making sure that they really have the tools that they need on the other side of things. So it is an area that I struggle with. Especially when I have students coming to me, you know, from other people that haven't learned, or, you know, coming to me because they want to level up and they're not ready, and I won't teach them, and them being like, fine, I'll go someplace else, and somebody else teaching them. And I'm like, that's so out of integrity. So I think that's an important thing to be mindful of and be aware of. Be really cautious in the sense that you need to feel good about the person that you're going to see and the skill set that they have. Okay, number 2, that someone else can do the work for you. Let me tell you that the term healer is actually a little misleading. As a healer, my job is to hold space. My job is to support and share wisdom. My job is not to heal you. Your job is to heal you. And I know that sounds like, well, if you're a healer, isn't that your job? But it's not. It is absolutely not. And it will not work if somebody else tries to do the work for you. So, all those friends or partners, loved ones that we try to do the work for them and help them to learn the lesson, if they don't learn that lesson on their own, they're never going to move past it. My job is to hold space for you. My job is to lead you to the root cause of the problem. My job is to lead you to where the solution can be found. My job is not to get you there. My job is only to be there to support you on that journey. And yes, I can put a little Band-Aid on it for you to make you feel a little bit better, but you are the one that ultimately has to do the hard work. That takes us in. The last three are all kind of connected. So the third misconception is it's a magical fix, that simply just clearing away energy is going to do the work. The reality of it is that there is a reason why the energy is disconnected or out of balance. We can't just simply brush it away or attune ourselves and expect that things are going to be solved. There is always a deeper understanding or a deeper meaning behind the energetics of it that we have to understand. So I consider an energy work as a Band-Aid. When I was doing straight Reiki sessions, which I did in the beginning, I followed the rules to a certain extent. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a bit of a rule breaker in the spiritual realm, that I don't like to be boxed in on things. I have to do things my intuitive way. And with Reiki, I was giving these beautiful treatments and people were feeling so good, but I was getting message after message after message throughout the session. So I would cut my session 10 minutes short, and then I'd verbal diarrhea at these poor relaxed people being like, okay, you need to acknowledge da 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 da, and you have to work on blah 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 blah, and this is what came up and that came up and blah blah. And it was it didn't feel good to me. It didn't feel good in the end that they had been so calm and relaxed, and then I just had to pounce on them with all this information that I felt like they needed to know to be able to move forward. So I really quickly recognized that for me, I didn't feel like people got the healing piece that they needed by just me sharing Reiki with them. It is a beautiful healing practice, and I do straight Reiki when I work with conjunction with something else. I teach restorative yoga and Reiki together. I teach flow yoga and Reiki together. And when I teach it in that sense, I'm not doing deep healing on people. I'm sharing that beautiful energy. I'm inviting the energy to go where it needs to in the body to do the greatest good in that moment. Its purpose is to bring calm, peace, and relaxation in that moment. It is not necessarily going to carry forward past that very far because we haven't actually done any healing work. The fourth misconception is that the effects are long-lasting and permanent. We kind of just touched on that. Again, if you're not doing the work that's behind it, then it is not going to be long-lasting. Energy work can be just a temporary Band-Aid while we do the harder work to get us to the other side of things. It isn't necessarily going to be long-lasting. That being said, I do distance energy work, and one of the things I invite my clients to do is to keep returning to the session that I've sent them until they're done with it. There is a reasoning, there is documentation, information, context for them to understand what the healing is about and what they need to heal from. And they can keep coming back to that energy session as much as they would like until they feel like they are complete with it and can't pull it up anymore. So in that sense, it's long-term in the sense that we can come back to it because it's a different way of sending the Reiki. But when it comes to just somebody coming in and laying on my table, literally I've watched people stand up and walk away, and it's like I see the magic just disappear. There's other people that hold on to it again until they come back to see me again, a week or 2 weeks later, sometimes even a month later. They've still held on to some of that Reiki energy, and I can feel it still resonating in their soul when they come back to me again. But those are typically the people that are doing the hard work outside of our energy sessions to really keep it going. The last misconception is you can avoid the root cause of why you are having problems by just simply doing energy work. Again, there is emotional and physical pain that is attached to the energy pieces. When our energy is in balance, there is a reasoning behind it, and it is typically emotional or physical. We cannot avoid those things. We cannot just come in with an energy session hoping that it's going to just cure the problem without actually addressing the problem. Now, I will admit it's super cool to chase energy through the body. And I do this in medical intuition, and I do this as well in energy work, where I start the healing where the physical pain is, and then I track it back to where the root problem is. For some people, the physical alignment of their body is off and creates this kind of weird chain that shows us where the problem is actually carrying. You know, well, I'm having issues with my left ankle. Well, it's because you keep carrying a heavy bag on your right shoulder, and that's how it's coming out, right? Sometimes we're taken to the emotional root of the problem. And this is where my intuition kicks in a lot bigger, is being able to address that emotional component to speak to why it's happening. When I did a lot of energy work, I used chakra sheets under my table as well as crystal grids under my table. And often when I set up that grid for my client, I kind of already knew what was happening before they came in. I could tell the parts that were off, the things that were happening, and could have a deeper understanding of that healing work that needed to be completed even before they got onto my table. Then intuition kicks in. I'm not saying that the healing work that I do is not peaceful and relaxing. I'm saying that in the work that I do, I talk to my clients to help them to understand what I am picking up and the context to which the soul work needs to be done. And I'm not always the right person to do the soul work with. Sometimes you need a mental health professional or a medical professional. Those things will come up in a session. But ultimately, we do have to deal with those root causes of the problem to actually move forward. I did find, comparatively to the beginning when I started my practice and was doing just straight Reiki, compared to the people that were coming to me and the reasons why now are very different. And they're much more in-depth and complicated in the sense of the healing that needs to happen to be able to move forward. Those are kind of my misconceptions today. Those are the things that I really wanted to touch on when it came to energy work. Anybody can do energy work. Don't get me wrong. I was doing energy work before I was ever trained in it. I was working with crystals to do healing work with my partner, and on myself, and then wanted to deepen my knowledge and my understanding. If you are going to do training, again, I ask you to look into who you are going to invest your money in, making sure that you're taking the time and the energy to connect, to ask the big questions, to feel really comfortable with the person that you are sharing this experience with. It is a deeply sacred experience, in my opinion, and it's something that we need to take really seriously when it comes to doing healing work. Don't just go and do it online. You really need to do it in person. You really need to be attuned in person and really find someone that you look up to and can even do some mentoring with to really kind of expand yourself and to find a teacher that really works for you. I am not poo-pooing energy work at all. I think it's incredibly powerful and strong when it is done in a way that empowers the client and empowers the healing process and moves us into that soul work that takes us to the next level. My goal today was to just kind of give you some of those kind of misconceptions that people come into my practice with sometimes, the questions that they ask, just to kind of make things a little more clear. And again, I think that big one for me is I say it all the time, I am not necessarily a healer. I am a healer. My job is healing work, but my job isn't to fix you. My job is to support you and guide you on this sacred journey and to give you the tools that you need to do the work that you need to be able to push forward. I feel incredibly blessed that my practice is a very healing practice. Regardless of what session you're coming to me for, you are going to get healing. If you are coming to me, you are somebody who has a desire to heal and to do the work that is necessary to move to the next step. So thank you to those who trust me with your energy journey, with your spiritual journey, allowing me to be your spiritual tour guide. I feel incredibly blessed. If you have questions about energy work, please feel free to reach out, whether you DM me, leave a comment on the podcast. I'm always happy to answer some questions about energy work. Or even help to guide you in the right direction. There are so many different forms out there. My energy healer that I used to use a combination of body talk and Reiki. There's so many beautiful healing modalities out there. Really find something that resonates with you and that really works for your body and your soul. And not only that, but find a practitioner that really resonates with you as well. That's where you're going to find the deepest healing. All right, friends, it is time for me to sign off. Thank you so much for being here on this spiritual journey with me. From my heart and soul to yours, have an amazing rest of your night.